Here's what people don't understand about Dr. Umar. I'm 100% unapologetically African, but I don't hate nobody.
Me too.
I got white kids who stop me at the airport, they want a picture. White men who want to have a conversation at the airport. I'll do it. I got Chinese fans. Now, non-Africans can be fans. Africans can only be supporters because I'm not an entertainer. I'm an activist, Pan-Africanist.
He calls himself the Prince of Pan-Africanism. To his supporters, Dr. Umar Johnson is a fearless leader fighting for the future of black children. To his critics, he's a controversial figure who's built a brand around speeches, donations, and grand promises. But behind the powerful rhetoric, there's a side of his story that few people talk about. From IRS audits and financial chaos, to messy personal disputes and a school that's been in limbo for years, Dr. Umar's journey is filled with unanswered questions. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the man who calls himself King Kong Consciousness, exploring the controversies, the charisma, and the contradictions that have made him one of the most polarizing figures in modern black activism. Back in 2022, a private conversation revealed a surprising detail. Dr. Umar claimed he was under intense scrutiny from the IRS. The reason? Donations for his ambitious project, the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, weren't adding up. He said his own accountant had been stealing funds from the school's donations, forcing him to fire the accountant and scramble to explain the missing money to federal auditors. This revelation shocked many. Dr. Umar had spent years passionately rallying for financial support, emphasizing that every dollar would go toward building a safe haven for black boys. But instead of seeing rapid progress, donors were met with questions about where their contributions had gone. It wasn't just about numbers, it was about trust. The community had rallied behind his vision, expecting transparency and results. Now, with the IRS reportedly involved, critics began to wonder if there was more to the story. And that's where things started getting messy. The Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy was supposed to be a beacon of hope, a place where young black boys could learn in an environment rooted in Pan-African values, free from what Dr. Umar called the psychological chains of public education. In 2014, he announced he'd purchased a former school building in Wilmington, Delaware. Supporters imagined a vibrant institution filled with eager students and revolutionary curriculum. But years later, those dreams remain largely unfulfilled. Reports from people who visited the site paint a bleak picture. The building sits with boarded windows, covered in graffiti. Weeds grow wild around the property. There's no heating, no air conditioning, and no sign of the state-of-the-art classrooms supporters were promised. For nearly a decade, critics have been asking, where's the progress? Umar's speeches often show him standing proudly in front of the school, hyping its potential, but in reality, it looks more like a construction project frozen in time. To be fair, starting a school from scratch is no easy task. It requires millions in funding, endless paperwork, and relentless dedication. But when donors continue to write checks year after year without seeing tangible results, frustration builds. And for many, this was the first red flag in a growing list of controversies. Dr. Umar has built much of his platform around the importance of family. He passionately argues that strong black households are the foundation of liberation, that fathers must be present, and that children need stability to thrive. His speeches on this topic are powerful, often moving audiences to tears. But behind the stage lights, some claim his personal life paints a very different picture. According to private conversations and interviews with people close to him, Umar himself has admitted that he isn't an active father. He has 2 daughters, yet his involvement in their lives has reportedly been inconsistent, and legal disputes over child support, and some sources say he rarely visits his children at all. Instead, he spends more time with his mother in Philadelphia than with his own kids. For a man whose brand is built on the value of fatherhood, these revelations hit hard. Supporters have defended him, arguing that great leaders often sacrifice their personal lives to achieve their goals. But critics see this as hypocrisy, pointing out that Umar has made fatherhood a cornerstone of his message, while allegedly struggling to practice what he preaches. And the questions don't stop there. Rumors have circulated for years that Umar may have more children than he's admitted publicly. While no definitive proof has surfaced, these whispers persist, adding another layer of mystery to his personal story. This tension between his words and his alleged actions is one of the reasons why Umar is such a polarizing figure. To his supporters, these are minor flaws overshadowed by his bigger mission. To detractors, they're red flags that point to a pattern of inconsistency. And as his platform continues to grow, these personal controversies follow him like a shadow, feeding into the ongoing debate about whether he's the leader he claims to be or just another personality who's mastered the art of building a brand. While juggling these personal and professional challenges, Dr. Umar shared plans that shocked some of his supporters. He expressed interest in spending 2 weeks of every month in Ghana. For him, Ghana is more than just a vacation spot. He's a proud Ghanaian citizen, and he often speaks about his connection to Pan-Africanism and the need for Black Americans to reconnect with their African roots. To his followers, this plan symbolized a spiritual return home, but to critics, it raised practical questions. How could a man struggling to open a school in Delaware commit to splitting his life between 2 continents? This revelation made some supporters nervous. Would this mean fewer updates and slower progress on the school project? Or was this a sign that Dr. Umar was shifting his focus entirely? The answers remain unclear, but it's another example of the tension between his grand vision and the reality of his commitments. Perhaps one of the most fascinating things about Dr. Umar Johnson is the stark contrast between his public persona and the allegations surrounding him. On stage, he's a fiery speaker who commands attention. He dresses sharply, quotes African leaders, and exudes confidence. His message is bold, unapologetic, and deeply resonant with those who feel neglected by mainstream education systems. But off-stage, stories paint a more complicated picture. The allegations of unpaid child support, missing funds, and slow school development have created a narrative that doesn't align with the larger-than-life image he projects. This tension fuels much of his notoriety. To his fans, these are minor setbacks in a noble mission. To his detractors, they're signs of hypocrisy. And this ongoing battle between image and reality is what keeps Dr. Umar's name trending year after year. For someone whose entire mission relies on the generosity of his supporters, Dr. Umar's battles over fundraising have become a saga of their own. At one point, his Cash App account, one of his primary donation streams, was suddenly shut down. According to Umar, this wasn't just a technical glitch. He framed it as a deliberate act of sabotage, claiming jealous haters were working behind the scenes to silence his movement. Rather than backing down, Umar turned the situation into fuel for his narrative. In speeches and live streams, he called out Cash App, accusing them of trying to undermine a grassroots movement for Black empowerment. He declared the cancellation to be a form of economic warfare, and instead of slowing him down, it seemed to light a fire under him. His speeches became even more passionate as he urged his supporters to donate through PayPal, write checks, and send money orders directly to him. This incident revealed a lot about how Dr. Umar operates. Even when faced with roadblocks that would derail most people, he has a knack for flipping setbacks into rallying cries. The Cash App drama didn't just show how reliant his movement is on funding, it also highlighted the loyalty of his base. Many supporters saw this as proof that Umar was being targeted because he was speaking the truth. In their eyes, this wasn't a scandal, it was confirmation that he was a threat to powerful forces. But for his critics, this moment raised new concerns. Some questioned why so much of Umar's energy was focused on fundraising rather than producing tangible results. The school, after all, had been under construction, or at least under fundraising campaigns, for years. Where was the progress? And if fundraising platforms were shutting him down, what did that say about how the money was being handled? This tension created a stark divide. Supporters doubled down, proudly posting screenshots of their donations and defending Umar online. Skeptics, however, saw it as yet another red flag in a long list of controversies, yet no matter how loud the criticism got, Umar's energy never wavered. He stayed in front of the camera, microphone in hand, urging people to support the movement and build for the future. The Cash App cancellation, far from weakening him, seemed to strengthen his brand. It painted him as an underdog, fighting against invisible enemies, a narrative that resonated deeply with people who felt overlooked by the system. It also reinforced one of the key elements of his persona. Umar isn't just a speaker or an activist. He's a master storyteller who knows how to keep people invested, not just financially, but emotionally. One thing no one can deny is Dr. Umar's charisma. His speeches are electric, often filled with humor, passion, and a sense of urgency. He's a master of commanding attention, and he's built a dedicated following because of it. Whether he's quoting African leaders, calling out systemic racism, or cracking jokes at critics' expense, Umar knows how to keep an audience engaged. He's also deeply connected to Pan-African symbolism, proudly waving the red, black, and green flag and promoting his Ghanaian citizenship. For his followers, Umar represents a rare kind of leadership, someone who isn't afraid to be controversial if it means speaking truth to power. And that's why, despite the endless headlines, he continues to pack venues and sell out speaking events. At this point, Dr. Umar's reputation has become a cultural conversation in itself. To some, he's a visionary educator, working tirelessly against impossible odds. They see him as a target of media smear campaigns and community infighting, a man unfairly judged for trying to build something historic. To others, he's a symbol of misplaced trust, a charismatic speaker who's great at collecting donations, but slow to deliver results. These critics argue that the school's condition speaks louder than any speech he's ever given. This divide has made Dr. Umar one of the most polarizing figures in the Black community, and perhaps that's why his name continues to trend. Every controversy adds fuel to the fire, keeping his movement alive, whether people love him or hate him. So who is Dr. Umar Johnson really? A visionary Pan-African leader fighting for the liberation of Black children, or a controversial figure whose lofty promises haven't matched reality? The truth may lie somewhere in between. What's undeniable is that Umar has built an empire on charisma, controversy, and conviction. His name sparks debate, his speeches ignite passion, and his story continues to evolve. Whether he ultimately delivers on his dream of opening the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy or not, one thing is certain: Dr. Umar has already cemented his place in the conversation about Black leadership in America. And that's why his story is far from over.